Thank you very much. I'm honored to participate in this. I am no journalist at all, so I don't move in these circles. I'm a scientist, as was said earlier. And but I do follow world news avidly, and that's unfortunate because none of it is good. And for full disclosure, Bina is a niece of mine, and she's been working on this for a long time. And it occurred to me that she has these programs that I join off and on. And I said to her, you know, you really need to perhaps bring in and honor some people who actually report and educate us from South Asia. So in order to plan any work, like a good laboratory experiment, you have to first have the literature and the data. And a lot of these people, of course, report at a great risk to themselves, but it has to be well researched with empathy from conflict zones. So there are many brave people. The name that came to my mind, because I've been watching this for a long time, is, you can tell that I have some gray hairs, is Lyse Doucet. And she is a Canadian journalist who is the BBC's chief international correspondent after having been for 15 years, the BBC's foreign correspondent with postings in Jerusalem, Amman, Tehran, Islamabad, Kabul, and Abidjan. I'm not sure there's a conflict zone that's excluded from this list, but there are probably, she's been to those too. So she's been reporting from Afghanistan and Pakistan since 1988, which I think was about the beginning of the Taliban's onslaught there. So Lyse has received the Order of the British Empire, and this I have to read, Empire in the Queen's Honours List in 2014 for her services to broadcasting, and was invested in the Order of Canada in 2019 for her empathetic coverage of world events. And I have to say, I added empathy in her citation without having seen this, so I'm very glad that Canadians recognized it. She has her graduate and undergraduate degrees from Canada, but here's what makes me very jealous and envious, actually. She has 17 honorary doctorates from leading British and Canadian universities. And here I am proud of my one single doctorate. And this is 17. I wonder if you'd share some with some of us, Lyse. And her journalism has been recognized by major media and charity. And the one charity I do want to mention is that she's a trustee of the Friends of Ashiana UK, which supports working street children in Afghanistan. And she has chosen to donate her honorarium for this recognition to that group. So please join me in honoring Lyse Doucet as the first recipient of the Sapan honor. Can I share the screen now? Here, am I allowed to? Oh, you cannot while the other. So can you, Bina, somebody's sharing it. So can I?
Yeah, you can share. Sorry, we were putting up the certificate.
Now I do. Now I have it. Yeah. Do you see it now?
Yeah. No.
Oh, okay. I did want to flash this nice picture here. Okay. And in fact, should have been flashed earlier. So please join me. We should have some clapping mechanism here.
Yeah, there is. People can use the clap facility on the reactions.
Yes.
Or we can do this, or we can everybody can.
Yeah, that's a good idea. But we should. You can probably download something.
We've done the clap. We've done the love. Lots of.
Yeah. Yeah, we can. And so, this is the organization that Lyse supports. That's the Ashiana.org for the children. And here is the, can you see this one now? The certificate that Sapan is giving, the certificate of recognition. And is that visible now?
No, that is not, but that was shared a little while, Ekta shared that a little while earlier. But,
okay.
But we can share it again.
Okay. So I don't know why it's not being shared, but this is fine. Yeah. Which is too bad. Yeah.
Let's share the certificate once more, please.
Yeah. Maybe Akhtar can share it because that's all I have to share. So that's
Thank you.
okay. Sure. So I'm going to close this sharing, and then you can.
And are you going to read out the citation? Ekta, are you sharing the certificate?
Yeah. So the citation here is for courage, empathy, and acumen in reporting and educating on events in conflict zones in South Asia and the world over. So this is something that I made up totally spontaneously because that's what I think. And since I was initiating this award, I thought I'd take the liberty of doing that. And presented on the second anniversary of the Southasia Peace Action Network, Sapan, on March 26, 2023, to Lyse Doucet OBE, OC. Ms. Doucet chooses to donate the honorarium to the Afghan Children's Fund, Ashiana organization. So that's it. And so again, congratulations, Lyse.
And we'd like to hear from Lyse now.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you very, very much, Dr. Hasan, a true example of a thinker and a doer, a scholar, a scientist, a doctor. I think all of us, and I think Sapan would like to see its mandate is trying to heal societies and people, but you actually do it in your work. And I always have to think twice when people mention that I have an award from the late Queen of the Order of the British Empire. And I had to think twice about it being Canadian, but at least it underlines that I think pretty well everyone on this call has been colonized by the British. I being Canadian, most of you coming from South Asia. Okay, Zada escaped it as a colony, but of course there's all those three Anglo-Afghan wars. And of course, in the case of Canada, we were also colonized by the French. But now we are in a new world, and perhaps it's fitting that I'm joining you from Brazil today, which with a new leftist president, Lula's back in power, talking about Brazil playing a greater role on the world stage, part of what I think we now call the global South. And I think that is something that all of you here joining this call would want to support, looking at the world from different perspectives and not just from the old capitals in the North. So it's a great honor for me to receive this first award inaugurated by Dr. Hasan and the Sapan Network. And it's a delight to join old friends, including Bina, and fellow travelers, and to be reminded of some of the giants when it comes to peacemaking, including who were personal friends, Asma Jahangir and Aya Rahman, stemming back to the time, the 5-6 years where I was living in Pakistan between 88 and 93, as the BBC's Pakistan and Afghanistan correspondent. So I'm glad to be part of this new history of Sapan, the Sapan community, as it launches its new website and its work. Bina so eloquently and impressively sketched what has already been achieved in 2 years. Now, I listened to Bina speaking so powerfully last week, and some of you may also have heard her at the Razi Abati Memorial Lecture, a tribute to an outstanding journalist from the region. And she described herself as being a journalist and an activist, and seeing no contradiction between the two of them. Of course, I work for the BBC, and a public broadcaster. It's played a role for decades in many of the countries which are part of the Sapan network. And we see, of course, our role just as journalists, not activists. But I do agree with Bina that our jobs are the same. And as she put it, it's about asking the right questions, including what can be uncomfortable questions. And it's also about providing the right context. And yes, it is, as Sapan has been emphasizing and highlighting for the past 2 years, an emphasis on peace, on dialogue, on human rights, and whether this is the South Asia region, and including Afghanistan, whether it's the Middle East, whether it's Ukraine, where I spent a lot of my time in the past year and a half. There's such a profound yearning for peace, and not just for peace, but for justice. And there also is a growing need for truthful, fact-based journalism. I know that is a very loaded kind of concept, because many of you will be thinking, well, what are the facts and what do we talk about truth and who can we trust? And I think I have to say with hand on heart that the first time I began to question the truth was when I was actually living and reporting on the ground in Pakistan in the late 80s and early 90s, where Benazir Bhutto and Nawaz Sharif, in and out of power, could sometimes not even agree on when something happened and why it happened and who was there. And these are questions which continue to this day. But I think we live in a very paradoxical world that never have we had so much information because of the dazzling changes in technology, all of these new platforms, including the kind of new platforms we've been hearing about today with the Sapan news website. So much information and yet so much misinformation, manipulation and misunderstanding. And I think we have to celebrate the fact that now there is the launch of this new service. And Bina and I have been speaking about how she has tried to make the transition from being first an organization of a coalition, really, of peace organizations and activists and coming together to form this syndicated news service, which had a soft launch in August of 2021. She's been helped by the Poynter Institute, and one of my colleagues, one of our BBC's most senior editors, has been part of that process. And so we celebrate and support you as you move towards providing some of this information on these really crucial topics that the world needs to hear. We already heard from Zara Nader, who has set up her own network in the past year called Zen Times, focusing there on women's rights, on human rights. Again, another channel for us to try to get the information we need from trusted sources. So I'm very pleased to be part of this Sapan community. I'm very honored and touched, delighted to be the first to receive this award. And I look forward to the years to come where other journalists, including many from the region, will step up and will be honored in the same way. I will just end by saying that when I began living in Pakistan in 1988, many of you will remember, I see Raza Rumi is on this call too, that was a time where there was, when it came to 24-hour international television services, there was the BBC, there was the CNN, which had just been launched, and then the BBC was just starting its global television network. And then fast forward within several years, I used to be visiting Pakistan when there was a huge revolution in the media industry in Pakistan. So many new channels set up, not just Pakistan, but look at India, look at Bangladesh, look right across the region, a real explosion of lots of news. And the BBC now is just one part of what is a huge spectrum of different television and radio and media, online-based news services. So I'm glad, I'm hugely proud and pleased to be part of this network, which is not just a network of fellow professionals, but also of dear friends from a very long time. So thank you very, very much.
Thank you so much, Lyse, for your moving words and for your thoughtful comments. We're really happy to, where'd you go? Somebody unspotlighted Lyse. There she is. Okay, I couldn't see you anymore. Thank you so much for joining and for your thoughtful words and for your support and your encouragement. And I just have a question or a comment about, you said that the idea about truth. I was part of something called the video journalism movement from the Netherlands for a while. I made a little film for them on Kashmir called Milne Do, let the Kashmiris meet. And the slogan of the VJM, of the video journalism movement, was, there is more than one truth. I love that, because there are only facts are facts, but there can be more than one truth. I can have one truth, somebody else can have another. One man's hero is another man's terrorist, and so on and so forth. And I really want to thank you for taking time out from your busy schedule in flying around Brazil and for updating us on the latest. We got a live update from Lyse Doucet right here on Sapan about happenings in Brazil. And thank you so much, the Bukhala, the Dr. Tayyaba Hasan, for initiating this award. I'm really glad to have you here in the spotlight, as it were. And I was thinking about, you research light, but we need to have more light on you right now because we can't see you very well.
Okay, I do this almost deliberately because I'm on Zoom all day. So
yeah, you want to get out.
It's become a habit.
So thank you so much. I'm going to now hand it back to, thank you so much, Lyse. I know you have to go. Really appreciate you taking out the time. We were going to be grateful for a video message, and beyond honored and grateful for you taking out this time to appear live on the Sapan network. Thank you, and back.